Hello and welcome to Current Issues. I'm Ajita Jain. On Thursday, the Supreme Court began hearing a petition by a 26-year-old woman seeking an abortion in the 24th week of her pregnancy, considered too late by Indian law. In her petition, the woman also sought to challenge the validity of the Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act 1971, according to which a woman is allowed an abortion only up to the 20th week of her pregnancy. Her case is one that should be followed with interest, especially as recent cases seeking permission for late abortions from Indian courts have met with differing outcomes. But imagine the plight of this 26-year-old who faced the trauma of rape first and now is running from pillar to post to get an approval for the abortion of a life she does not wish to give birth to. Is this not violation of women's rights? It's a very sensitive issue, and this whole matter brings us to an important debate to question whether it is time to amend the abortion laws in India. I have with me for this debate Anuja Kapoor, who's a psychologist, and Dr. Tanvi Raj, who's a gynecologist, and very shortly I would be joined by Aishwarya Bhati, who's a Supreme Court lawyer. So firstly, coming to you, Anuja, these are the extraordinary circumstances that this woman is going through. Why can't she have a choice to discontinue her pregnancy?
Because they put in various terms that it could lead to the problem with the pregnancy and with the mother. And somewhere down the lane, they figure it out that it's a constitutional area where a woman's right can be infringed, because the child which has been born and the ratio could be imbalanced. And so if we keep on doing something where we have an abortion again and again, and it's just this, they just say, sometimes the woman just comes up to a doctor and just say, I don't want the baby, please abort. So where you just put something where I just don't want the baby, please abort, it's just a joke. It's a misuse of law. So this should, to combat this, they have come up with a act, they have come up with laws so that a woman or anybody else should not misuse the law and should not terminate the pregnancy just for the saying of it.
Okay, but as a woman, do you support this personally?
No. I don't support this, because again, there are, it's just the crux, which is some of the women who misuse the law, and the whole, you look at the whole perspective, the larger idea of it, and you put a mark on a woman that this is, every woman is going to do this. This is not the right thing. You have to see, you have to be very, very sensitive towards the woman who has been facing a lot of problems in her life. Why is she coming to you? What is the problem that she is facing? Now in this case, it's the case of a rape.
Absolutely.
And first traumatize, first victimization, secondary victimization is that she's conceived.
Yes.
Then she's taking up the baby. She has no right, where she has to go for a full termination, where the child has an abnormalities also.
Absolutely.
So you are secondary victimizing the person. And victimizing.
And here she has run from pillar to post to actually seek permission for that.
Yes.
Dr. Tanvi, do you find this unfortunate?
Yeah, this is actually very unfortunate, because the person who is suffering is the woman. Only she is suffering. She has already dealt with a lot, and now she'll have to carry the pregnancy for whole 9 months, which may not lead to any viable baby. The baby may not survive at all. So it's not right for the woman. She should have the choice. She should be given the choice so that she can terminate the baby.
Right.
So I'll be for, like,
and had it been a very normal fetus then?
Even if it had been a normal fetus, she's the one who is carrying the pregnancy throughout. She's the one who will be taking care of the baby for the next 9 months. So she has the right to choose what she wants. Every day will be a trauma for her if she doesn't want the pregnancy.
Yeah. True, but medically, since I'm sure you must be dealing with such kind of cases on day-to-day basis, you know, medically, how do you find the sealing? I mean, what is the safest sealing period as far as medical terminology is concerned and medical science is concerned?
Yeah. As far as medical science is concerned, the safest period will be during the first 3 months of pregnancy, that is the first trimester of pregnancy up to 12 weeks of gestation. That is the safest. There are a lot of medical methods and simpler surgical methods for termination of pregnancy. But unfortunately, in our country, the awareness is very less. People hesitate in coming to doctors. They take time. So most of the pregnancies, they cross this period. When they reach us, it's already beyond 12 weeks. So we get a lot of patients in the second trimester that is beyond 12 weeks of pregnancy. So it is safe till 20 weeks as the law says. But even if it is increased till 24 weeks, the morbidity definitely increases slightly. But it's not that much. It's not proportionately very high. But yeah,
What
it
are the
has to
other
be done
risks
in a
involved?
proper.
What are the
Yeah.
other risks involved?
There is increased morbidity in terms of there can be increased blood loss, there can be trauma to the patient. The procedure could be quite prolonged, the procedure of termination of pregnancy. Surgical methods may be required, she may need a hysterectomy, and all these things may be required. So it has to be done in a proper setup if it is ever done.
Right. Anuja, if we talk about other countries, in other countries, laws are much more flexible. If you talk about US, we are showing it on the screen also, what are the abortion laws in US, UK. You just see that, till 24 weeks, abortion is legal and it's allowed later only if doctors detect threat to mother's life or severe abnormalities in fetus. This is the law in UK, and if you see, look at Australia, in Capital Territory, abortion is legal at any stage. Other states legalize abortion between 14 and 28 weeks. So this is the law in Australia. And see what law is there in Canada. No abortion beyond 24 weeks unless experts certify threat to mother's life or severe abnormalities in fetus. And France, abortion is legal till 14 weeks only, but can be done at any stage if risk is there to mother's life. And in Germany, abortion is legal till 12 weeks. If mother's life is at risk, then up to 23 weeks. And in Japan, abortion is permitted only if mother's life is at risk or fetus is severely abnormal. And in US, we missed out on the US law. In US, abortion is legal at any stage. Even the consent of spouse is not required. They are that liberal in US. So, why can't we have a flexible law here in India? I mean, you just see the pattern.
Okay, now what I would like to go with it, I could see all the laws.
Yes.
I'm really happy to see all the laws. But one thing which I just felt that something is amiss is like here in India, where we have this MTV law is there. And it's okay. I would say that to some extent it is a bit okay. Why? Because if we just give in US that you are allowed to abort your fetus at any point, I think that would bring up a lot of casualties. And one thing which I would really go with it, if it has an abnormality.
Beyond 20th week, you mean to say?
Yes, if it has an abnormality, then you want to do, there is a list. And if there is a case of a rape, if there is a case where the woman is able to justify herself, that this is the reason I don't want the fetus, then we should be considering the abortion.
No, but then again,
just,
I should
just coming
Anuja,
up with
again, as we discussed earlier, in special circumstances, in these extraordinary circumstances, where a woman is a rape survivor, rape victim, she's already gone through so much of a trauma, as you yourself said. And then now again, she will have to justify all that.
No, here I just said only in the rape case and the other areas where she wants to justify. Suppose she is poor. Suppose she doesn't have so much of money where she could support her, the other coming child. All right. She already have maybe 6, 7 children. You justify it. You're justifying it. Suppose the other is the husband. She's a battered wife. She's hardly, suppose she's taking care of herself, then she has to take care of the baby. She's an unwed woman. you know, when we were just talking.
Yeah.
So these are the areas where you have to just justify yourself that these are the areas I cannot take care of the baby. I don't want to take care of the baby.
Absolutely.
Okay. But you are all healthy and hearty.
Okay.
And you are not unaware. It's just a normal life. And you just come up and you say, I just don't want this baby. Do you think, is it?
So you mean
you
to
think
say
that's wrong. That's misuse.
Okay, so you're saying
that is a
there
misuse.
should be an amendment, but
There should be
with
a
a
line.
clause.
There should be a line. Yes.
But
there
with
should
a
be line.
clause.
Yes.
Okay,
A clause
but-
should always be there in India.
Yeah.
Definitely.
The present act, it has a clause, the 1971 act, that has a clause. It says it is quite liberal. It covers a lot of the lines that
Yes,
are given
it
in
is.
the
I have
act.
seen
It
that.
says like if it is any threat to mental or physical
Yes,
threat to
yes,
women. So if they include mental threat, that includes a lot of things.
No, but my question to you,
That
doctor,
include almost everything. I'll say I don't want a baby. I want my career. I'm mentally exhausted.
No.
I cannot. So
That's
that
what I said.
is the problem.
no. Oh, okay.
So here in the 1971 Act,
Yes.
doctor also has a role to play. Like
Yeah.
they can,
I
a
would
woman
like to
cannot come.
understand
I
when-
want termination. She can say I want termination, and the doctor also has a say
That's
that
what I
it's
said.
not
You need
good
to
enough for you.
justify. That's what
Your
I said.
reason is not good enough for this
Yes.
procedure.
You have to justify.
But the recent amendments, they are giving more power to the woman. It's
Okay.
like they can demand abortion.
Right. Now, we are also joined by Aishwarya Bhati, who's a Supreme Court lawyer. Aishwarya, we are debating whether it's the right time to revisit, relook and revamp the abortion laws in India. And since you're joining us late, you have missed out on few points. But anyways, I would just like to understand from you whether this act, which came into force in 1971, it's been 45 years since then. Do you think, was it ever women friendly from the day one when it came into force? What's your view? What's your take on this?
See, yes, see Ajita, the point is that, you know, one of the important points that the lady has also raised in the current petition is that, you know, medical science has progressed. So an act that was made so far back when the medical science was obviously, you know, in much more rudimentary form, if I can use that word.
Right.
But the developments in medical science and law has to keep pace with it. I don't agree that, you know, 20 weeks is a sufficient amount of time, though I joined the discussion late.
Yes.
But obviously, the reason why these petitions are coming to court is because these are extraordinary cases, these are exceptional cases.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, 20 weeks, the time that is prescribed in 1971 Act, is a time good enough for a woman to understand whether for her priorities, her profession or children, or, you know, those kinds of issues are not the issues here. The issues are very serious. These are issues because these are victims of sexual assault, or there is some kind of abnormality which is genetical or something. You know, in the petition itself it says that some doctors have also said that, you know, often these kind of tests, they take 2 to 3 weeks to come back, for the results to come back. And these tests to examine genetical abnormality, they cannot be ordered before 18 weeks of pregnancy. So if it is 2 to 3 weeks, there are instances where women have gone in on a doubt of genetical abnormality before getting it, you know, without waiting for it to get substantiated by tests, just because they are too scared, and then the 20-week deadline is there. So I think it is about time. The legislation has already taken a step. I hope it results into something fruitful. It takes into account the current, you know, the current status of medical science, the current knowledge of technology that we have, the medical practices that we have today, and also it gives the woman a greater right, because this act has to be, it cannot be seen just from the prism of childbirth. It has to be seen from the prism of motherhood and childhood. So if we narrow down the prism, then we lose everything.
Yes. So you find this act as arbitrary, harsh?
No, it was great when it was enacted. It is not arbitrary because it empowered women in a way. But you know, medical condition has to be kept. It has to be, and it is for the protection of the woman herself. Because after 20 weeks, medical science at that time used to say that it is not safe for her to undergo the abortion. But now the science has changed. There are better techniques available. There's better knowledge available. So we should look at that and amend the act accordingly.
Right. But Aishwarya,
I don't think it was arbitrary in any way. The development in science has rendered it arbitrary to some extent, but it was not arbitrary to start with.
right, since you are a Supreme Court lawyer yourself, I would like to understand, has anybody ever been convicted under this act?
Well, that is another thing, though it remains to be seen. This is, I would say, this is one of those acts which is in the category of the Child Marriage Prohibition Act, which has, remained more on paper and less on enforcement. But that is also, I strongly believe this is a point that you are raising is a very important point. But I strongly believe that when laws are made when the society is not ready for a law, they will find ways to violate it. The enforcement agency will never be able to keep up with it. So these laws cannot exist in vacuum and isolation. We need to get the society on the same bandwidth, the same mental level. We have to undo the gender biases which are so heavily ingrained in our society. Only then we will be able to realize these acts, this act and also the Child Marriage Prohibition Act in their full capacity.
Right, but there are always chances of misuse of any kind of an act or law, Anuja. Here, okay, Aishwarya also supports that it's high time, to revamp the act, to amend the act. You also suggest the same, and I believe Dr. Tanvi also supports this. But there are always chances of misuse of anything. So how would that be prevented here?
You can misuse any law. It is nothing that, that is where we are talking about the prevention. Here we bring with lot of clauses and the penalties which come across. It is how you portray it in the front. If it's just on the paper, as she said, if it's just on the paper and there is no enforcement, any law can be misused. And here, where there is an enforcement, that is the problem. Why law and order in India is not successful? Because the enforcement problem is there. Even if the law is very stringent, but if you not enforce it properly, it is of no use. So the misuse is, you cannot just go with that it will be just misused. It's enforcement that should be taken care of. If you are properly enforcing something, it will come up, you will see the effect of it. If it is not, even if it is a stringent law, it is not going to be of any use.
Right, and there are ethical issues also attached to it.
Yes.
You agree?
Yes. Ethical issues during criminology, when I was studying, we were learning this also, that with criminal law, how criminal law is being made. It is being made even with ethical values also. So when we think about it, we make some law. There is a legislative body which makes a law. It thinks sometimes about, they make a frame that they think about the ethical too. But does ethical helps you? Does it helps in not misusing it? Does it help the audience, the people, the ones who are using it? Ethical do plays a role, but when we are talking about the behavioral society, when we're talking about the criminality, we're talking about criminology, when it is going to the vast and various, and when victimology comes in front, if we keep on talking about ethical values, we'll be lost.
Okay, what's your take?
Like, ethical issues will be there with this because obviously you're terminating a pregnancy which has already grown a lot. After around 20 weeks, a woman starts perceiving quickening. She starts perceiving the movement of the fetus. So it's more like terminating a more kind of formed baby. So
an entity who's who's now breathing, living. Yes.
So a lot of places like US and all, they can even salvage a baby around 24 weeks, 25 weeks.
Okay.
But not in India. We take it around 28 weeks. But as
28 weeks, you are saying, is the safest period to terminate any pregnancy.
No. I'm taking 28 weeks as the period of viability.
Viability, okay.
Yeah. Okay. So another issue, ethical
We are
issue
again
that
moving
comes
on to
with
medical
it.
science now from ethics. Yes.
So another ethical
that's very
issue that
important.
will be there.
Yes.
there will be an increase in, there can be an increase in sex determination and associated termination of pregnancy, because there's a more greater period of time associated with it, that they are allowed to get the pregnancy terminated. So another, the PCPNDT Act, that has to be reinforced very stringently.
You know, but what we think in two ways also, you know, if ethically we just keep on talking about something which is of an ethical value, you know, but we have to also understand, like you know, remember what we are talking about is like in euthanasia. You know, what is it? We're talking is exactly the same thing about euthanasia.
Yeah.
And that person is also living and is in a vegetable state. Remember that
Absolutely.
nurse
Yes.
who died just because euthanasia, because we're talking about our ethical values. You have to understand that when you are rising, when we talk about science, we talk about people, we talk about their values, we talk about constitution, we talk about all things, victimology, criminology, everything, then that is the time when we talk about ethical values. Ethical values need to be taken only when that it is not to some extent is not hindering the growth and the development of the society.
Okay. Right. Another question, very important question that comes to my mind, Dr. Tanvi, is anybody can say, you know, even the court can ask, why you are coming for this in 24th week? Where were you for past 24 weeks? You know, you're saying your fetus is deformed.
Yeah.
You're saying you're giving lot many other reasons.
Yeah.
But then you should have approached the court earlier. So, what is the logic to it?
The problem with identifying the abnormalities in the fetus is that the major the major determination of abnormality, congenital anomaly in fetus at around 18 weeks. There's an ultrasound, gross congenital anomaly, and if there's a if we are suspicious
Gross
of
congenital anomaly, you're saying that can be detected only in?
at around 18 to 19 weeks of
Only,
gestation.
not in earlier stages of pregnancy.
Very few anomalies can be detected earlier, but most of them are detected around 18 to 19 weeks.
That's very
and
important.
confirmation may further require 2 to 3 weeks. We do amniocentesis to confirm a lot of things, and the results of which come at around 2 to 3 weeks. So
Right.
that will cross the deadline of 20 weeks. And by the time either the woman goes for abortion with not unconfirmed diagnosis, a suspected diagnosis, or if she waits for confirmation and by chance it comes out to be positive, she has to carry on the pregnancy throughout. So
Right.
that is quite traumatic.
Very
That is
important.
very traumatic
Ashwarya, I
for the
come to you
patient.
for this. When this act was made, when this came into force, a very important point that Dr. Tanvi has made here. So, do you think at that point of time, this point may not have been considered? That is why the ceiling, the bar that was put was of 20 weeks rather than 24 weeks?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I don't even, I'm not even sure in 1970s we had the technology to find
Exactly.
out if there are any genetical deformities in the fetus.
True.
So that is the whole point. I have also read these accounts, what doctor is talking about. I've read these accounts of women that they terminated their pregnancies without waiting for confirmation
Confirmed
of those
report,
tests.
yeah.
And in some of those, can you imagine the trauma of a woman when she would have realized that the test actually came negative?
Negative.
There are, and you know, 20 weeks is normal. It's fine to keep it as normal. Please understand that anything beyond 20 weeks can only be understood in a extraordinary situation, in an exceptional situation. And
Right.
these exceptional situations, you know, it's human life that we deal with. That is why we have courts of law. Though the words of law are very cold. You know, you were having this whole discussion about there is misuse of law, so why should this law be permitted? You know, you will be surprised, even the best of the laws which are made with the best of intentions are misused
True.
by the
True.
very people
True.
who
True.
it is meant to protect.
True.
But
Right.
do you throw out the baby with the bathwater? No, you don't. You have to segregate, and for that we have courts of law.
Right.
You know,
Okay.
I would like to see our enforcement agencies working better. I would like to see our you know, justice system working better, faster. so
Okay,
that
Ashwarya,
whatever
very
is
quickly,
truthful
what
comes
kind
out
of
quickly, and
change
whatever
would
is
you
not
like?
truthful and
What kind of change would you like to see in this act? What kind of amendment would you like to see in this act? Very quickly.
Well, specifically from this provision, I would definitely like to have, the medical science, the developments in medical science walk in vogue with the provisions of the Act. So, greater power and greater rights to the woman and the medical science, but only in exceptional situations and circumstances, so it doesn't become a routine. And secondly, on the other aspects of this Act, I would like to see greater enforcement and greater social awareness, so that we don't have to depend only on police to ensure enforcement, but enforcement starts in every household.
Very quickly, Dr. Tanvi, what do you have to say on this?
No, I think it's
10 seconds.
Yeah, it's good. It should be reinforced properly, and it has to be done along with the other aspect, and like increasing the knowledge of the people, increasing awareness.
I think the existing the law is fine, but with a 24 week capacity should be there, so that they can understand if there is a rarer of the rarest cases coming up, some casualty on the higher level is coming up, so that can be taken up into where you called something which is called science.
That law should be more compassionate,
but rest is all is okay in that. It is not that bad.
Absolutely. Thank you so very much, Anuja, Dr. Tanvi, Aishwarya, for joining me here on this current edition of Current Issues. Thank you so much, and this is the end of Current Issues at the moment. Thank you very much for watching.